Denman are wonderful. They welcome us with open arms, they put bands on. Everywhere in town is booked out.
They're as fast as they are loud. The heart of Lake Macquarie alive with action.
We've had a series of different races already, with Paul Levin, the current Australian #1, taking out the first runabout moto.
It's all part of the Lake Mac Big Weekend, where foreshore entertainment is mixed with high-octane racing.
It's the speed and the power of them. They're just incredible.
This morning, petrol heads and families alike flocked to Warners Bay and surrounds to sneak a peek.
The council have done a fantastic job and it's forever now.
Grey skies and foggy conditions only adding to the spectacle.
Close to shore, it looks nice and flat. You go out there on one of the skis and it's about 3.5 foot chop.
But as the heavens opened in the afternoon, crowds were quick to disperse, leaving the hardcore fans to snag a front row seat.
A little bit of rain doesn't hurt. No, it's all right, I've got the umbrella.
The event continues tomorrow. Talia Sav, NBN News. The lights were on and the runway set. From sophisticated bridal to bold bikinis, Newcastle's proven they can strut their stuff.
They're all a bit crazy prints and little cheeky cuts, very 90s.
19 designers, more than half of them local, took centre stage for the city's inaugural fashion weekend.
We've got so many sassy, fashion-forward females and males here, and our city's growing every day, so it's definitely a great platform for Newcastle.
The fashion mecca attracting a stylish audience to celebrate a passionate local industry.
To be able to showcase what I love, what I do, and to be able to have it open to the public is wonderful.
Organisers say the event also paves the way for larger commercial brands to enter the marketplace.
We've got H&M, potentially Zara down the track as well, so hopefully this will encourage more brands to jump on board.
But it wasn't just about the glitz and glamour. TAFE New South Wales exploring deeper issues with wearable arts.
Pretty spectacular designs.
I think they're amazing, and when you get up close, the detail's incredible.
The public also trying a hand at some of their own creations.
Really good. It's actually quite therapeutic. I'm quite enjoying just having a chat.
We plan to do this every year and it will evolve every year.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
An imposing welcome for the Country Boys, staring down some of their NRL idols, and that only continued after kick-off. Pete Mataudia getting things moving. It was their star power that did the damage. Frank Pritchard finding Joey Leilua. Once he built up some speed, the former Knight was never going to be stopped, scoring their third. But the next set, a dropped ball and a clever kick-on from Lakes United's Jacob Gagai. Pre-game, Gagai hoped he'd be noticed by NRL clubs in the match. There's no doubting he turned heads. His Lakes teammate Carl Kennedy also got onto the scorers list, the Country Boys mounting a late fight back to cap off a night they'll never forget. It wasn't quite Cristiano Ronaldo, but rounding out a derby thrashing, Jets fans loved it all the same.
Ivan had scored in the pre-season, and he said if someone scores in the season in the front third, he wants us to do that so he can join in as well. So I'm sure if he scores, he'll be 10 times more better than that.
Supporters are hoping Dimi Petratos can become their own Ronaldo, a goal-scoring, play-making winger. And while his strike was voted the A-League's goal of the week, this Jet is staying grounded.
It's obviously a good start, but we've got to stay focused and continue to back the results up. And it's not going to be a 5-0 every game, but 5-1, but we'll go ahead and obviously we want to score goals.
They'll go head-to-head with Perth tomorrow, a side who's proven it's also hard to contain, particularly against Newcastle. They haven't lost here since 2011.
What's happened in the past, happened in the past.
The Jets are just hoping the passionate support shown last week can be multiplied back at home.
At one stage they were singing one of their songs and it was actually louder than the Central Coast supporters, so it made the game just that little bit better.
A passenger has been left dead or dying on the side of a road at Bulahdelah, north of Newcastle, following a car crash. Reporter Tyson Cottrell joins us live. And Tyson, the driver is yet to be found.
Jane, police are still searching for the person who was involved, or the driver involved, with this fatal crash this morning. A male passenger was killed when the white Holden Commodore slammed into a tree on Wooten Way at Bulahdelah. A shift worker came across the crash at around 6 a.m. on their way home, and police are still trying to narrow down the exact time of the accident, but they say when they arrived at the scene, the driver wasn't there.
At some time during the night, where it's lost control and veered off the side of the road and collided heavily with the tree. The driver's not at the scene and we haven't been able to locate them yet.
Jane, it's been a deadly 24 hours on the region's roads. A 17-year-old boy was killed in a crash at Taree yesterday morning. In regards to the crash at Bulahdelah, police are asking anyone with any information to contact Crime Stoppers.
At some time during the night, where it's lost control and veered off the side of the road and collided heavily with the tree. The driver's not at the scene and we haven't been able to locate them yet.
Newcastle's transport system is getting back on track.
What do you think of the new interchange?
Great, wonderful, love it.
The Newcastle Transport Interchange now up and running.
This is the first key component of the revitalisation program.
And a milestone for the city's new look rail network.
A hub for the new intercity services, the light rail services, bus services.
The transport hub opening ahead of schedule, just not officially.
We are about to open the new interchange in Newcastle.
From today, more than 1,000 services will run to and from the interchange, and at a cost of $200 million, it's money well spent according to many.
All the way from Sydney, and really good feeling to come to the interchange. It feels 20th century now.
But not everyone was pleased.
They've got no signs out the front.
To get to platform 1?
Yeah, there's no signs when you come in.
The next stage in the city's new transport network is the much anticipated light rail, and this is where it will link up with the heavy rail and travel right through to the city's east, and it will all happen in 2019. There's still plenty of work to be done before then.
We're hoping that the rezoning gets supported through council before the end of the year. We're looking for the store site behind us there. We're looking for that planning approval.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
"18 months ago, Cameron Neville was drowning in debt.
I was scared all the time. I couldn't answer the phone. I didn't want to open my mail. I was worried, the sheriff was going to turn up and take whatever I had left. So I was constantly in a state of fear.
Sadly, it's a story many Australians can relate to.
If there's a relationship breakdown, if there's a change in health, we'll see people at the moment experiencing probably not the certainty in jobs that they've had. So we've got people with more part-time work and casual workers that are connecting with us.
34-year-old Cameron is one of the lucky ones. He's now back on track thanks to the Salvation Army's free money care program.
Doing a budget and keeping in front and learning about the traps, like the payday loans and the rentals. It can make a huge difference in your life.
As part of Anti-Poverty Week, the Salvos are hosting a free financial expo at their Hamilton HQ on Wednesday from 10 till 2.
The financial world is complex, but there are remedies that we can do on both legal grounds and compassionate grounds, and we'd like to be able to work with people and help them in that space.
It's not the only charity looking to improve lives this week. Vinnie's is calling on coffee lovers to donate the cost of a cup to help fight poverty. Participating Newcastle and Lake Macquarie cafes will have these donation boxes. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Our goal is to raise as much money as we can for one purpose, and that is to deliver more meals to more vulnerable people.
He spent the season adjusting to a new plane. Now it appears everything is starting to click. Hall comfortably qualifying first and almost bettering his own track record time.
I think we've got the speed to win races now, and the confidence to win races. Tomorrow is a completely new day though, so winning quali today, tomorrow is a completely different track based on what the forecast says.
The Round the World Ocean Race has begun in Spain. The first stage was a circuit inside the port. Lake Macquarie's Cole Langford is on board Team Brunel for the 9-month journey. It finished fourth. Floraville's Lucas Chapman is racing for Turn the Tide on Plastic. That team was 7th. And Hunter figure skater Kalani Crane's career continues to progress in leaps and bounds. After sealing Winter Olympic qualification, she's now been invited to her first International Skating Union Grand Prix event in Canada later this month. With everything to play for, both sides were clearly keen to take their chances. But it was the Blasters who did that best, living up to their name. Newcastle in complete control. That effort, a 6 and a no ball. On the very next delivery, Adrian Chad loaded up again for the same result. But the third time wasn't a charm. The ball staying in the air just long enough for a diving Isaac Barry. That slowed Newcastle's momentum. Jonty Durheim was also sent packing not long after, before Matt Trappel got in on the action. His first wicket, a well-taken catch in the outfield. The next ball was an LBW, but that was the end of the innings. The hat-trick will have to wait until next season. The hitman were left chasing a mammoth 169, a task that quickly became even harder. The top order was knocked over fairly cheaply. The side recovered, but still fell 66 runs short.
Monday morning, right during the busy school drop-off period, a sight which had many fearing the worst. A bus engulfed by a fierce fire, flames leapt from the vehicle, the blaze sending an ominous dark cloud over Thornton.
It was pretty intense, it was pretty scary. Lots and lots of black smoke, flames really high.
Witnesses flocked to help, fearing the bus was packed with students. Thankfully it wasn't, and with the driver, the only occupant, making it to safety, the focus soon turned to the firefighting effort. According to the bus company, by the time the driver noticed the fire and went to investigate, the flames had already taken hold. In the end, there was very little that could have been done to stop the blaze, the cause of which is now under investigation.
It was just incredible how quickly it had really taken hold.
Earlier in the morning, there was a similar scene at Wallsend, only this time it was a Ford Falcon ablaze. The fire is now being investigated by police. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It's $200 million well spent, according to the Transport Minister. To others, an obscene amount of money down the drain.
That $200 million could have built a new hospital or a new school or something else, whereas it's just been wasted, really.
The union bosses should just go back to sleep.
But the union says the government essentially closed Newcastle Railway Station and built another one using taxpayers' dollars.
We've built this pretty new orange railway station, but the reality is people are still changing there and getting on a bus and travelling where they used to be able to go, stay on the one type of transport and travel all the way into Newcastle.
For those heading into the CBD now, free shuttle buses are available from the interchange.
At the moment the train arrives, the buses are waiting for you.
In the future, buses will meet commuters at the store site. Private sector interest in that redevelopment is strong.
Ultimately, we've got a lot of market interest. Requirement is to make sure that there's a coach and bus interchange.
The light rail system is progressing too. It will be open by the first half of 2019.
I think going to be the first stage of a light rail project, which will no doubt broaden in the years ahead. As a government, we have committed to actually doing a review to work out the best routes moving forward beyond this first 2 kilometre section of track.
And there was a final message for the government's detractors.
Have a look at what's happening. $2 billion of private sector investment off the back of our decision already. Revitalisation of Newcastle at $650 million. There's no white elephant here. This is an economy that's starting to boom.
Jane Goldsmith, NBN News. You know it's nearly showtime when supercar royalty comes to town. Mark Scaife, who helped design the track, inspecting his work 6 weeks out.
Today's the first day of our actual event build, so this is the process that we'll go through every year to actually build the circuit, put in all the temporary infrastructure.
More than 1,400 concrete barriers will line the streets during the race. The first ones were installed today. We'll start to see Foreshore Park's grandstands go up over the next few days, while work continues at Newcastle train station. The iconic site and rail corridor will also be used.
We've got a big range of support races on the weekend between Super 2, V8 Utes, Touring Car Masters, Aussie race cars and also the Toyota 86 series. So all their cars will be housed along that area through there.
As construction goes up a gear, so too has ticket sales, with 1,500 on track to be sold for the 3-day event.
We've since basically sold out of all our corporate. Grandstands are at about 94% sold out, even though we released another 400 odd seats a couple of weeks back. They've been snapped up really quickly. And the day sales have been going really strong.
It's not just tickets racing out the door. Supercar organisers have been forced to put the brakes on volunteer applications after they were inundated with assistance.
We've got over, I think, 840 volunteers who've applied, and out of that, I think about half of them are actually from the local area, either people who have worked on events before and have travelled to other places, but also some of them are just, people from the Newcastle area that want to get involved.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
It was okay, I was pretty happy with it actually.
I felt prepared going in this morning, I wasn't too stressed.
Michael McLean and Nicole Ella-Jones are the future of Indigenous health, studying to be doctors with the support of the University of Newcastle's Wallatuka Institute.
I was told that I wasn't able to kind of pursue any kind of tertiary education from my high school principal. So coming through Wallatuka and meeting people saying, you can do this and come and join the medical program, which was really inspiring because I never thought I could actually do something like this.
Nicole's about to graduate and will leave the mannequins behind next year as she embarks on a career with Hunter New England Health. She and Michael both credit the Institute's Miramar Bunbilla program with giving them the confidence and support to study medicine.
I come from a background of always hearing what you can't do, you'll never be this, you'll never be that. And then
come to the Miramar Bunbilla and find that there's all this support available.
Each year we take around about 10% of our student cohort we dedicate to Indigenous applicants. So that enables us to create the opportunities that we believe are very important.
The university is proud of its achievements, having had 88 Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander graduates. That's half the Indigenous doctors in Australia.
That record of achievement is very important in attempting to address the disparities, the inequities in health for Indigenous people in this country.
I've got 2 young kids, a 10-year-old girl and a 12-year-old boy, and I just want them to see that if you apply yourself, you can get somewhere.
Michael's encouraging other aspiring doctors to apply. You can find out how on the university's website.
Just as fans were starting to celebrate a perfect start to the A-League season, it was a former Jet who sank Newcastle's spirits. The second Taggart goal of the game left the hosts to lament what might have been.
We had more than enough chances to win that game. We had 14 scoring shots to their 9. You haven't lost a game. You've scored 7 goals in 2 games. We entertained the crowd. And it's disappointing, but then we'll play another game and play really badly and win. So it's the way football goes.
Merrick's men again showed their attacking prowess. Roy O'Donovan bagged his 4th goal in 2 games. And an unlikely but very happy Ben Kantarovski put away a Nikolai Topor-Stanley header. But it was a Venezuelan international who lit up McDonald Jones Stadium. The silky skills of Ronnie Vargas evident for the almost 15,000 strong crowd.
You can see as he's getting fitter, his touch on the ball, his control, his passing. We've signed an outstanding player, and I thought he was ripping it up, particularly in the first half, but also in the second half.
Kid Vargas is a very good player. I think the fitter he gets and he starts to understand the league, we'll see more of him.
And he's developing a very decent combination with fellow off-season recruit Dimi Petratos. Hall went into the final round as favourite. After acing qualifying, he clocked the fastest time at the start of the final day at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. That set up a head-to-head battle with title hopeful Martin Schonker in the round of 8. At the crucial Gate 2, Hall had the plane at the maximum angle and went for it, but pushed too far. He admits that mistake distracted him. He blew the rest of the lap and collected another penalty for an incorrect level. His Czech opponent advanced, leaving Hall to reflect on his 6th season in the series where he finished 6th overall. Japan's Yoshi Maruya went on to claim the world title.
We'll see those guys starting to arrive from the weekend before. Some of them will have media commitments. A lot of them will want to be here to try and get as much track knowledge as they can. Being a new venue, and we haven't had a new venue for about 9 years, everyone's starting off with a blank sheet of paper.
Jessica and Ryan Baker send 5-year-old Oceana to the Go Kindy Daycare Centre at Saltash. They say they've been given mixed messages whether it's in the red zone.
I got told that they weren't in the red zone.
Yeah, the manager told me that the same thing. She said, "Oh, we're not in the red zone. We're just outside the red zone." I said, "Well, I've been living this for the past 2 years. I know exactly where the red zone is and you're in it."
Go Kindy's head office also told NBN News it wasn't in the red zone. But this afternoon, the Environment Protection Authority confirmed the business does fall within the boundaries. What's concerned some parents is that bore water is being used to water the grounds, including a vegetable patch.
I knew that they had the vegetable patch, but I didn't know that they were using the bore water to water it.
The EPA says that bore water was tested earlier this year and showed no signs of PFAS, while the centre has advised the vegetable patch is used only for the children's learning experience and its produce isn't consumed. The daycare centre says it passed a Hunter New England Health Water Quality Assurance Assessment in January. The EPA met with Defence Department and the childcare operator today and says, based on discussions, they believe the exposure risk to children at the centre is extremely low. Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
The disappearance of the 16-month-old girl, known for legal reasons as Astra, has hung over the Hunter Valley town of Scone for more than 15 years. But today, one chapter of the mystery was closed. The girl's 45-year-old mother, who a judge previously ruled was responsible for her death, walked free from Newcastle Court, having avoided a prison term. In sentencing, Supreme Court Justice Robert Allen Hume today noted that Astra's death was caused by a deliberate act or omission, but due to her mental illness at the time, the woman did not know what she was doing was wrong. While Astra's body has never been found, Justice Hume ruled the mother did in fact kill the child between 2000 and 2001, but was suffering from schizophrenia. A number of psychiatric reports carried out before today's sentencing found the woman's condition has been stable for many years as a result of regular treatment, with medical experts concluding that neither the accused or the community would be seriously endangered should she be granted conditional release. The judge did so on the condition she abide by any rules or recommendations made by the Mental Health Review Tribunal.
You'd be hard-pressed finding someone who isn't familiar with Ben Elton's work. But now, the award-winning British writer calls Australia home and he's tried to pen something different.
Quite moving for me to know that my Australian journey, to use a much-used word, but I think it's quite relevant in this case, has arrived at such a place that I've been able to make a fully all-Australian feature film.
It's called 3 Summers, a rom-com written and directed by Elton himself. The film was shot in just 25 days with an all-Australian cast, including Michael Caton and Magda Zabansky.
in a kind of way reflects, you know, our society, reflects Australia a little bit. It's a little slice of life, 2017, and people are being very appreciative.
Elton's a fan of Newcastle, having done stand-up here in the 1980s. He's in town tonight hosting a Q&A after a preview screening of the film.
But it does feel very beautiful. So much work's been done around the town, so much going on. It's lovely to see the big town halls being refurbished. You know, it's so good that they're looking after that wonderful old building, you know. In Perth, we knocked down quite a lot of our beautiful buildings in the 80s, and it breaks my heart.
Three Summers opens in cinemas on November 2. Alex Heinke, NBN News.
A team under enormous pressure, back-to-back losses, the general manager sacked and questions over player payments.
The club is a family for me, and everyone is part of this club and everyone is part of the family. So that's it. We have to support each other, but yeah, now we just have to focus on the football. To be honest, I don't care about what happens there.
Ernie Merrick isn't buying into the dramas up north either.
Every club I've seen so far are good teams. They've recruited well, they've been well prepared, and I would say that every team is capable of taking points from any other team.
But the Jets coach isn't pulling any punches when it comes to the refereeing, seeking clarification from the ref's boss over what he claims are consistent fouls against Jack Duncan.
It's very frustrating, it's blatantly obvious. When a referee says, oh, the VAR will pick it up, I think that's passing the buck on to a video ref who's not there at the moment. The rules are just clearly explained, which they were, but they're not sticking to. Now we can go, oh, great, Big Ben is going to go up and harass goalkeepers, something terrible. Wait and see it.
The Jets will likely field the same 11 for Sunday's match, with the possible return of Jason Hoffman to the bench. It'll be the first match in Brisbane for former Raw player, now Jets workhorse Dimi Petratos.
I think sometimes when you play against your old club, you lift, a bit like Roy. It's a fairly common thing, so I hope he does. But he's playing good football for us.
Kate Haberfield, NBN News.
Watching the waves roll into Merewether with one of his best mates late last week, Kirk Gidley cherishes moments like these more than ever.
I've been able to travel so many different places around the world, and when you come home you realise how lucky we are to live in Newcastle.
His incredible rugby league career is now at a close after 2 seasons with Warrington in the English Super League.
I wanted to go overseas and experience living in a different country and a different culture, and I've made some friends for life over that side of the world, and yeah, had some great experiences at Warrington and play at some of the great grounds around the world, Old Trafford and Wembley. It was just a great opportunity and a great life experience for myself and my family, that was.
Gidley admits he didn't watch any NRL except for one side.
I kept an eye on all the Knights games, to be honest, and whatever happened on the field and off the field.
He hasn't played alongside many members of the New Look squad, but sees cause to be confident.
Oh, I think it's the most positive time for the club. I think as far as West coming on board and the centre of excellence and the whole precinct around the stadium is an exciting time for any junior rugby league player coming through, but any young sporting person coming through.
There's talk Gidley could work at the club in some capacity, but for now, he's just settling back into life in Newcastle.
We're away for 2 years straight and just moving back into our old house. It's all exciting again, and it's just great to be home.
From swimming pool to crime scene in one tragic afternoon.
It's heartbreaking, truly is.
A teenager's life cut short by a frightening chain of events.
Someone was on the ground and the ambulance officers were around them.
It was horrendous. It was shocking.
Responding to reports, a 17-year-old had assaulted a staff member at Lambton Pool. Police arrived to find the boy suffering a number of injuries.
This young person was trying to strike his head, not only by himself physically, by punching himself in the head, but also striking himself on the concrete path.
The teenager went into cardiac arrest and died a short time later at nearby John Hunter Hospital.
What we believe is certainly the case is that this young male was having some form of a medical episode.
It took up to 5 people to restrain the teen during the incident. In the process, a male staff member was injured.
Certainly my understanding is that he actually feared for his life yesterday.
Police have described the actions of those who tried to help the teenager, including pool staff and members of the public, as courageous. They've also been quick to dismiss suggestions the 17-year-old's medical episode was brought on as a result of suffocation. By this morning, news of the incident had spread.
Very distressing, imagine for the staff and obviously for the family of the young man.
Oh, sad for the family, definitely.
His death is now the subject of a critical incident investigation.
It broke my heart. I feel for the family, I really do.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Barty Blake and her beloved Tommy have been living in a Compass housing property for almost a decade.
I wouldn't be able to eat if I had to live privately.
Housing unaffordability is the worst in this country than it's ever been in its history, and there doesn't seem to be a national policy or a national program that really encompasses that.
The state government has now announced Compass will take over management of an additional 1,800 social housing tenancies as part of a statewide handover. Compass says it's not just about providing a roof over Hunter residents' heads.
We do concentrate a lot more on community development activities. We like to think that we're a good landlord in terms of, we look after the tenants, we look after the properties.
I'll provide that link between our tenants and any supports that they might need. We've been talking earlier about getting some in-house care, some services that are available to everybody with aged care packages and the like that not everybody might know about. So, those are the things that make the difference, and it's to increase the quality of life, and so that's what we look at.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Large class sizes with multiple teachers and textbooks swapped for projects.
This enclosure was designed for a honey badger which is adapted to African Asia.
It's the future of education according to Kurri Kurri High School, where a loud classroom isn't frowned upon, it's encouraged.
We no longer work in factory lines where we have to comply for 6 1/4 hours a day, sitting still and being quiet. that is no longer learning.
Since the start of the year, it's adopted the so-called EOS approach to learning. Rolled out across Year 7, the students are part of a state first.
The way that they learn, so they learn in hubs of 60, move into pods of 20 and into huddles of 3 to 6, where they do project-based learning.
Today, around 150 delegates from across New South Wales gathered in Newcastle, interested to hear how it all works. Curry High Principal Tracy Breeze taking centre stage.
They don't go to individual maths classes, English classes, science classes. That work still happens in explicit teaching, but in the smaller groupings of 1 to 20.
And while the project may raise a few eyebrows, the school says it's seen incredible results.
It has enhanced our attendance, it has reduced the number of behaviour problems. We're seeing self-directed learners who are able to collaborate and create together.
Talia Sav, NBN News.
While these gentle giants tried to steal the spotlight at today's announcement, the focus was squarely on these Hunter residents, selected to be part of the Queen's Baton Relay for next year's Commonwealth Games.
It's a great honour. I'm really pleased to be involved, and I guess athletics is sort of really a showcase sport for the Commonwealth Games, so it's really good to be involved from that perspective as well.
It's an honour and a privilege to be a baton bearer for this, especially to, as a Young Citizen of the Year, to be representing young people in our community for this event.
Also among the 24 named, inspirational former knight Alex McKinnon, champion wheelchair athlete Kurt Fernley and swimmer Maddie Elliott. She's a bona fide gun in the water with the silverware to back it up, but on dry land.
Well, I'm not a runner and I always trip over my feet, so it'll be different, but I will enjoy it. I'll just take it in, I'll just soak it all in.
She's not the only one worried.
You see, I'm not a runner. I'm the sort of kid who came last in every race.
The Queen's Baton Relay is due to arrive in Newcastle on February 3, making its way off a tugboat at the foreshore before travelling along our coastline to Bar Beach. With a desire to host a future Commonwealth Games, Newcastle's Lord Mayor is eager to show off the sights.
We will be able to showcase not only our beautiful city during the relay process, but I hopefully will plant a seed in the minds of all Novocastrians that Newcastle is ready to host its own Commonwealth Games here in the future.
Meredith Gibbs, NBN News.
Under a new coach, it's a new role for Steven Ugarkovic.
For me, I've been trying to work on getting a bit more forward, and he's given me that role where I can attack. I want to become a goal-scoring midfielder, grab some more assists, and I think I'm getting in those positions now. It's just about finishing them.
He had a chance to create one last weekend.
Yeah, just took a bad touch.
But the 23-year-old has proven he can hit them. To do that more consistently, he's turned to Ronald Vargas, a man who can find the back of the net better than most.
His sharp movements when he gets the ball, his little turns and things like that. And he's told me to just focus on watching him during training and trying to take little pointers. And I'm watching him in training. He uses his body very well, and he's an excellent player.
Ben Kantarovski has joined Ugarkovic in the holding midfield role this season.
I think Ken has a good football brain. Me and Ken understand each other very well. If he's playing on the left, I'm on the left. We rotate well. We work off each other going forward and defending. Even the players that come on, Wayne Brown, Calburn, we all sort of understand each other's roles and we work off each other very well.
They'll go up against some of the league's best in that position when they face Brisbane on Sunday, Matt Mackay and Brett Holman.
Yeah, they've obviously got 50 odd plus games for Australia, so they're very experienced. So yeah, we just need to play our game, and I think playing our game we can outrun them.
Handed a lifeline for the rest of the Supercar season, Sandown was far from an ideal start. And Bathurst wasn't much better. In torrential rain, the car's windscreen wiper failed. Russell wasn't behind the wheel at the time. He could only watch the laps go by.
Sandown was a bit heartbreaking. Bathurst was definitely heartbreaking. You know, losing 5 laps there, looking how the race panned out, you know, a top 10 result really went begging. So, you know, just really want to have a strong showing in the last endurance event, and, you know, hopefully we can push up into that top 15.
Russell says having consistent drives is helping his performance, but needs a bit of luck at a track that can so often be so cruel.
Gold Coast is a brutal track. The curbs and the walls and everything. I like how aggressive you have to be, and I think it kind of suits me. So, you know, last year we went quite well, and hopefully this year we can do the same.
Sage Murdoch will also be racing this weekend in the Formula 4s. It's the final round of the series. He's improved out of sight throughout his debut campaign, now pushing for the podium.
Qualifying was the really hard part for me at the start of the year, trying to get as most out of I can out of the new tyres. And I just went through a barrier and just got up there. The last couple of rounds have been really good, really shown what I can do.
Charlotte Pointing will contest the Aussie racing cars with a clear intention.
I've got a bit of salvaging to do as I've struggled in the second half of this year, so I've got to try and get back inside the top 10. Thinking positive though, I think I can do it.
She's 13th overall, but is leading the women's standings.
If I win this weekend, I've secured that for the whole year, which is awesome. Definitely something we're really striving for.